I was standing beside the cake table when my 13-year-old niece Ava peeled back the plastic on the iPhone I bought her. She giggled, her fingers delicate on the box like it was glass. "Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice." She said it like a joke, a whisper meant to sting, but dressed up in teenage sugar. Across the room, people laughed. 30 voices, easy and careless. My sister, Rachel, Ava's mother, didn't even look up from her wine glass. She was leaned back on the couch, one leg crossed, smirking. The kind of smirk you wear when your plan works exactly as intended. My mother was in the kitchen stirring something she wouldn't eat. She didn't say anything, but her shoulders lifted just slightly, a gesture I knew too well. It meant she approved. My father, seated in his worn armchair by the sliding doors, didn't bother pretending. He raised his beer can. "Well," he said, chuckling, "she's not wrong." That's the thing about my family. They never yelled to hurt you. They laughed. Uncle Dennis snorted into his napkin. My cousin Claire, who once borrowed money for emergency dental work and never paid it back, clapped like Ava had delivered a punchline on late-night TV. And me, I just stood there. Like always. I was the one who bought the phone, the one who paid the overdue school fees last fall when Rachel forgot, the one who added them all to my Netflix account because Mom couldn't figure out how to log in on the TV. I was the one who showed up. And now, apparently, I was also the one who wouldn't be missed. Ava looked up at me, eyes wide and innocent, still smiling. "Thanks for the phone, Aunt Viv." I swallowed, nodded. "My name is Vivian. Vivian Hale, 36 years old. Old enough to know when the room has no place for you, even when you're the one footing the bill." I didn't say a word. I pulled my phone from my pocket. 2 taps. Utilities off. Streaming canceled. Shared phone line disabled. Mortgage auto payment stopped. Just like that, I disappeared. No one noticed, and that was the last thing they ever got from me for free. I didn't stay for the cake. They were lighting candles when I slipped my coat from the hook near the laundry room and stepped outside. No one followed. No one noticed. The cold caught in my throat. January in Ohio has a way of reminding you what silence really feels like. That bite of air between your collar and your skin, the kind that makes you hunch without meaning to. I didn't go home. Not yet. I drove to my apartment across town, a 3rd-floor walk-up with no elevator and terrible insulation. I'd lived there for 7 years. Long enough for the carpet to remember the shape of my steps. But somehow that night it felt like a waiting room. Not mine. Not anymore. I took off my shoes at the door. Not out of habit, out of finality. There was no rush. I didn't cry. I didn't scream or pack in a fury like women do in movies. I made tea. Then I opened the closet and pulled down an old black backpack I hadn't touched since college. Nylon faded at the seams, zipper stiff from years of disuse. But it held. I filled it slowly. A folder with printed copies of utility bills I'd paid. A thumb drive labeled family records in my handwriting. The prepaid tuition slips from Ava's school. A photo of me and Grandma June back when her hands still worked and she could beat me at Scrabble, and then folded in quarters a legal document. A quitclaim deed signed and notarized, transferring full ownership of Grandma's lake house to me. Dated 6 months before she died. They didn't know about it. Rachel still talked about the house like it belonged to her. "The kids love summers up there," she'd say. "We might renovate it one day." I never corrected her. Back then, I thought letting them believe was easier than explaining. But now the house was mine. And I was done explaining anything to anyone. I zipped the backpack and placed it by the door. I packed a second small overnight bag, essentials only. Change of clothes, toothbrush, phone charger, flashlight. Then I sat, for a long time. The apartment hummed like it always did. Faint fridge motor, distant traffic, the click of a heater that never worked right. Nothing dramatic, just life softly turning its back. At 2:13 a.m., I stood, slung both bags over my shoulder, and turned off the lights. No note, no goodbye. I drove across the city in the dark. Their neighborhood was quiet, the kind of quiet that comes from comfort, from not needing to question where next month's heat will come from. They'd never question it, because I'd always paid it. Until now. I walked up the path to my mother's house as silent as a thief, only I wasn't stealing. I was returning something. I left the backpack by the bottom stair where they'd be sure to trip over it in the morning. Then I left. Really left. By the time they opened it, I was already out of state. Already on my way to reclaim what they never knew they'd lost. They say systems break slowly then, all at once. By 7:41 a.m., Rachel had called my phone 4 times. By 8:12, my mother had texted, "Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi, can you check?" By 8:26, my father's pharmacy app declined his insurance refill. And by 9 Hazura, the thermostat clicked cold. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat in a diner 2 towns over, sipping black coffee that tasted like burnt pennies, watching sleet collect in a silent parking lot. By noon, their silence shattered. Rachel again, this time from a different number. "Vivian, what the hell is going on? Mom's freaking out. Dad's yelling. The utilities are all screwed up. The cable's down. Ava has an online test this week and the internet's just gone." I let it ring. Then another message. "Was this your way of punishing us? Seriously, grow up." I smiled. Not because it was funny, because the panic was familiar. I'd just never been allowed to share in it. At 2:37 p.m., I got an email from the mortgage lender. Subject line, auto payment canceled. Past due status warning. They'd never seen that email before. I always forwarded it to myself. At 4:12 p.m., a message from my mother. "Vivian, your father is very upset. I don't know what you think you're doing. This family is falling apart." Falling apart. That was rich coming from her. For 20 years, I'd watched her hold her wine tighter than my shoulder. She always said the same thing whenever Rachel failed or made another mess. "She's just figuring things out. You're the stable one, Vivian. Thank God for you." It wasn't gratitude, it was delegation, and I was done accepting the assignment. At 6:45, someone knocked on my apartment door. 3 sharp, impatient hits. I didn't move. Again. Fists now. "Vivian, open this goddamn door." My father's voice. He hadn't been to my apartment in 5 years. Not since I moved out to give Rachel space when she got divorced and moved back into our parents' house with a child and a pile of debt. I stood behind the door, quiet as drywall. "You think you can just cut us off? You think this makes you powerful?" The doorknob rattled, then stilled. "We raised you. You owe us. You're not better than this family. You're just a bitter little girl with a paycheck." He waited. I waited longer. Eventually, I heard him mutter something, maybe a curse, maybe my name, and walk away. His steps were slower than they'd been when he arrived. I sat back down at the table, the same one where I'd spent Thanksgiving alone 2 years ago, because we're doing a smaller family dinner this year, just Rachel and the kids. They always called it smaller when I wasn't invited. I made pasta, opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for no one in particular. By 10 Suverud, Rachel posted on Facebook asking if anyone else's utilities had been hacked. A cousin commented, "Isn't Viv your IT sister? Maybe she can fix it, LOL." Rachel didn't reply. The next morning, I woke to 26 missed calls. 7 from my mother, 9 from Rachel, 3 from Ava, her first. The last one just said, "There's a black bag by the stairs. Was that you?" I didn't respond. She was the one who said I could disappear and no one would notice. Now they couldn't stop looking. They opened it together. My mother told the story later to a neighbor, I think. I wasn't there, but I know how it went. It sat by the stairs for a day and a half untouched. They assumed it was something Ava left behind, or maybe a donation drop-off from one of Rachel's friends. Nobody thought of me. Not until the water was fully shut off. Not until Rachel's husband, the new one, had to shower at the gym because the pipes were stone cold. Then they opened it. Black nylon, stiff zipper, nothing fancy. The kind of thing you overlook for years in a closet thinking it holds nothing of value. But inside, I'd packed everything they forgot to remember. The first thing my mother pulled out was a folder. Inside, printed PDF copies of the last 4 years of utility bills. Each one marked with a yellow sticky note, paid by V. Hale Electric. Gas, trash, cable, pest control. Next, my father's pharmacy receipts, the co-pays, the delivery fees, the emergency inhaler refills. I never even told them I was the one reactivating his account when he forgot the password. He always thought the system just remembered. Then 2 school tuition invoices. Ava's private arts academy. Rachel always said they had a scholarship partial maybe, but the rest, it came from the same routing number tied to my account. Folded among the papers was a grocery list, not mine, my mother's. I'd found it in her handwriting years ago. On the back, I wrote, "Everything here paid 3/12/19. You told me not to tell Dad you forgot the card again." Then came the flash drive. I don't know how long they waited before opening it. Maybe they thought it was a virus. Maybe they hoped it was blank. But it wasn't. Inside 4 folders. Audio documents, screenshots. June was Grandma. I'd saved every voicemail she ever left me. She didn't leave many. But the last one was just before the stroke. Her voice was shaky but clear. "Vivian, sweetheart, I signed the papers. The house is yours. I know they won't like it. I don't care. You're the only one who showed up. Keep it quiet until you need it." Then she laughed low and dry. "Lord, they'll hate this." Good. There was also a scanned PDF of the quitclaim deed, signed by June Hale. Notarized, stamped, filed in my name, full ownership of the lake house in Knox County. The one Rachel redecorated last year without asking. The one my father still referred to as our family's legacy. I imagine they sat very still after that. Because after all the bills, all the names, all the yellow sticky notes, all the voice recordings and screenshots of Rachel calling me a paycheck in a pantsuit, after all that, there was one last thing. A photo. It was old, faded. Me and Grandma June on the porch swing at the lake house. I was maybe 13. She was holding my hand. On the back, she had written in shaky blue ink. She was the only one who remembered my birthday. Vivian deserves something that lasts. I wasn't there when they found that. But I hope for once they read it slowly, because it was the only goodbye I left. And it wasn't for them. It was from her. He invited me like nothing had happened. No apology, no explanation. Just a one-line text, section 112, row G, game night. Let's talk. I read it 3 times before I put my phone down. He still thought this was about negotiation. But I said yes. Because by now, he had the backpack, and I knew he'd read what was inside. Or at least skimmed it. The stadium was packed. You could smell metal snowmelt and mustard. The kind of noise that doesn't come from the game, but from the people needing something to scream at. I found him easily. Gordon Hale, my father, sitting exactly where he said he'd be holding the black backpack on his lap like it was a trophy or a warning. He looked older than he did in my memory, more like a man defending a past he couldn't afford to have questioned. I sat down 2 seats away, not next to him, just close enough to make sure he knew I wasn't hiding. He didn't say hello, just grinned like he was the one giving me a second chance. His hand tapped the bag. He called it our little time bomb, said it wouldn't hold up, that no one would believe some bills, a voice message from a dead woman, and a property deed she probably didn't mean to sign. He spoke low, sharp, too fast, like a man who knew the argument wasn't working, but still needed to say the words to feel taller. I watched him. His knuckles were white. The corner of his mouth twitched between bravado and something closer to panic. He kept trying to laugh, but nothing was funny. He told me I was cruel, that I'd embarrassed the family, that people saw the video, the backpack, the bills, the recording, and thought I was out for revenge. He said Mom cried, that Rachel was losing sleep, that Ava had to face questions at school. And then finally he asked me, "What do you want?" I turned slowly, looked at him, looked at the crowd. The noise around us was a blur. Popcorn sellers' fans yelling at refs' laughter that didn't belong to either of us. And I said nothing, because he already knew the answer. He just didn't want to say it out loud. He wanted control, narrative, image. But the thing about paper, it doesn't lie like people do. I stood. He grabbed my sleeve. I shook him off. Not hard, just enough. I walked 1 row up, turned to face him. He flinched like I'd pulled a mic, but I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "My name is Vivian Hale," I said loud enough for the section to hear. "And for 20 years I paid for this family to function. Not because they asked, but because they never thought I'd say no." People turned. A woman near the aisle whispered to someone, "Isn't that the Hale girl I paid the power bills, the school fees, the hospital debt, the groceries?" And when I stopped, they said I was the one who abandoned them. I held up the folder, the same one I packed that night before I disappeared. Light caught the seal of the deed. Someone behind me snapped a photo. "This is the transfer deed to the Hale Lake House, signed by my grandmother 6 months before she died. She gave it to me because I was the only one who stayed when she couldn't walk anymore. My father tried to speak something about legacy inheritance misunderstanding, but I didn't let him finish. You always told me I was lucky you raised me. But the truth is, you never did. I raised myself, and then I carried all of you." I stepped forward, dropped the folder at his feet. "You don't have to like it, but you don't get to lie about it anymore." Then I walked up the stairs past rows of silent strangers. I didn't run. I didn't look back. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking away from a fight. I was walking out of the role they wrote for me and locking the door behind me. They didn't call that night, but by morning my phone pulsed like a dying heart. 27 missed calls. Rachel, Mom, one from Ava. Then came the messages. First, blame. Rachel said I'd humiliated the family, that Ava was crying, that the internet had no context. She said I weaponized the truth, as if that was worse than burying it. Then guilt. Mom's voicemail was soft, too soft, the kind of tone she used when she wanted something but didn't want to seem like she did. "Vivian, please, this isn't who we are. We're a family. We just need to sit down talk. Your father's quiet. Rachel's upset. I miss you." I listened once, then deleted it. That was the most grace I could offer. By afternoon, the story shifted again. Someone must have recorded the stadium scene. A neighbor, maybe. One of those phone-in-hand, justice-on-demand types. It started making rounds online. No names. Just the voice of a daughter calm listing every bill she'd ever paid for the people now pretending she didn't exist. I didn't post it, but I didn't need to. The truth travels fine without permission. That night, Ava sent me a voice message. Just one line, quiet and trembling. I didn't mean it. I didn't know it would matter. She didn't say what it was. The party, the sentence, the look that followed. But for once, she said my name like it had weight. I didn't answer, because I wasn't angry. I was finished. 3 days later, someone forwarded me a screenshot, a Facebook post. My mother standing beside Rachel and Ava, smiling like grief made her stronger. The caption read, "Sometimes families go through hard seasons, but love finds its way. We believe in forgiveness even when it's not returned." Below, "You're such a strong mama, proud of how you're handling this with class. Family always wins. Narrative reclaimed. History rewritten." I didn't respond. I didn't correct, because the truth isn't something I needed to drag back into their house. I'd already laid it at their feet. Later that week, I sat at my kitchen table, barefoot, a cup of tea cooling in my hands. The apartment was quiet, the kind of quiet you earn. No buzzing texts, no just checking in voicemails with knives tucked inside. Then one last message, from my father. 5 words. "You'll regret this. We won't." I let the screen dim on its own. Then I opened my settings, blocked his number, then Rachel's, then Mom's. Not out of anger, not as punishment, but because silence this time wasn't surrender. It was a decision, and I was finally the one making it. The lake house was smaller than I remembered, paint peeling near the windows, gutters half detached, the porch swing long gone. But it was still here, still standing. Just like me. The deed had been recorded weeks ago, quietly, legally, permanently. The county clerk asked if I wanted to notify any family members. I shook my head. They'll know. Inside, the house smelled like dust and river wind. Grandma's old floral couch was still there, sun-bleached and stubborn. The upstairs bathroom had a slow leak. The guest room had become a storage pit full of half-finished summer projects, most of them Rachel's. I boxed up what didn't belong, left the rest untouched. Some things aren't meant to be cleaned, just cleared. On the kitchen table, I placed one item, the photo of me and Grandma June, the same one from the backpack. Her handwriting on the back was fading now, but I didn't need ink to remember. Vivian deserves something that lasts. Outside, the lake moved slow and wide like it always did, like it didn't care who thought they owned it. I stood on the porch steps with a mug of coffee in my hand and nothing in my inbox. No calls, no requests, no emergencies. Just the cold air, the wood under my feet, and the quiet. Not the kind of quiet that makes you feel small, the kind that lets you breathe deeper. I didn't post about the house. I didn't tell anyone I'd arrived, but I updated my address. Because sometimes you don't have to burn the old life down. You just have to stop answering when it calls and move into the one that was always yours.